Salute to you all, the brave never fall. We all hit crossroads in our life. That's an inevitable thing that will happen in each one of our lives. Important junctions in our life, crossroads, that will define the rest of our lives and kind of put a cap on everything that happened prior in our life, because when we're looking back on our lives, there's always a point where you're going to get to where you say, all of these things that happened to me led me to this thing. It could be one particular thing. It can be multiple things. But a lot of the things, especially your decision making, will have you reflecting and remembering and remorsing and regretting and forgiving, maybe not forgiving yourself and others. And it will lead you to a point where you ultimately, if you was to draw all those out on paper, it would bring you to a crossroads. And at that particular point in time, you can look back and say, I made the right decision to go right, left, forward, stand still, go backwards, go forwards, go upwards, go downwards. A crossroads, like many dimensions, even the dimensions we cannot see it as human beings, sometimes those dimensions that we can't see are like the crossroads we cannot see. You get to a crossroads and you can see certain paths, but there are also hidden paths. A lot of hidden paths. How do you know where they are? That's where trust in your intuition comes into play. Well, how do you trust your intuition? Through self-love, self-respect, self-discipline is how you trust your intuition. If you truly want to trust your intuition, this is based on my experience. Again, I am not a doctor. I'm not a psychologist. I am not a sociologist. I'm not here to give medical advice. I'm here to give advice on things that I've experienced in my past, and I have experienced a whole lot. And I can tell you one thing. No good decision I ever came from me not listening to my intuition. All the bad decisions I made in my life came from me ignoring my intuition. It's almost too easy. The problem with intuition is that it requires you to be strong in multiple areas, including your mind, which is often forgot about with decision making, where you would think that the mind would be the first thing you would think about with decision making. But a lot of people make a decision with their hearts. They might make a decision based on a spiritual aspect, where they believe this decision would be backed by a higher power. There's other people who believe that physically they can get through anything, that no matter what happens, they're going to be here. So who cares if I make a bad decision? I'll bounce back. That's not always a bad thing. That's called being brave and taking risks. But to tie all those in together, you need to think long and hard about important decisions. Decisions that are made in a flash, in a moment, aren't always good. There are times where you need to be prepared to make a decision in the moment. And if you aren't prepared, you know that feeling, that helpless, hopeless feeling that you get in the pit of your stomach, that cold feeling in your stomach. The butterflies start turning and you know, I'm not prepared to make this decision at this time. But you want to know what the real brave thing is? If you have the time to walk away and to think about it, you should do it. But we too often as people don't want to let a particular person down because they're asking something and putting pressure on us, and we're not assertive enough and confident enough to tell this person, I have too much self-love and self-respect for myself and self-discipline to make a decision right now based on what you need. I have to also figure out and understand what I need, because this is a tough decision for me. It may not seem like that for you, but I need time to think. I need time to work this out. I need time to work out this relationship, this job proposal, this church decision, this financial decision, this family decision, this addiction decision. Any big decision that's going to be life-changing, you have to take time to allow certain things to work themselves out. Harsh decisions in those moments don't always work. There are cases and times where you do have to make a hard decision, but they're fragments of a whole. What we're talking about is a crossroads that has broad strokes, broad implications, broad consequences that are going to affect your life and other people's lives. We're all connected, but we're also all free. It may seem like an innocent, easy thing to do to get into the cycle of making snap decisions without thinking about them. But often, as I said, the path is not always laid out in front of you in a way where you think everything is just A, B, and C. Sometimes D and E are hidden. And maybe you need to take the time just to look around and see, maybe there are a couple more paths before I just jump down the roads that are ahead of me because they're there. Everybody's lives are different. The person who takes the path of A might go to a place where they want the challenge of that particular road. They can see the challenges. They know it may be a little bit harder, but the reward at the end of that path is going to be greater for them. It's going to be more rewarding because it's a little bit harder is what they need. Another person might come to that same junction and choose path C. It's an easier path. They can see the finish line, quote unquote. Again, there is no end, but these people believe they see a finish line and they see comfort and they're ready to roll. They go down that one. Then there's B. B might be a little bit of a mixture of both. Depending on the type of person you are, don't you think you might want to take the time to explore, as I just stated, what you can and cannot see on those paths before you embark on them? By no means are we talking about standing in stasis for forever, pondering. You do need to make a decision. But you don't want to go walking down a path unsure. You want to know what your purpose is. What can you handle at this present moment? Yes, path A may seem very well intentioned and good. You may see promise and prosperity on that one because it's harder. As I stated, you can't really, it's a hard road. You can't really say that it's going to be too comfortable, but you feel like you need a challenge. You need something that's going to toughen you up. That may be the road for you. But if any doubt creeps in your mind, you might want to start looking towards the middle, B, because it's not too hard. It's not too easy. It's probably just lukewarm, just right, Goldilocks. And some people look at that easy path and they say, that's a little bit too easy. That's a little bit too easy. And too easy sometimes leaves a emptiness in you. When you're comfortable, but there's just stuff missing. You feel like you've missed out on things. You haven't lived a full life. I always tell people, go with your gut. What is it telling you? Take the time to take it all in. Go through the scenarios in your mind. See how your heart responds to it. What's your soul telling you? How does your body feel about the path ahead? And then you make the decision that's best for you. Not what's best for other people. Not what's best for people who barely even know you to even be offering you advice in the first place on what you should do with an important decision in your life. You do it for yourself because that's where the self-love comes into play. When you slow down, take the time to actually listen to the rhythm of your own heart and you feel in tune with who you are in that moment, you'll know. And it usually often turns out to be a good decision because you've taken the time to take it all in. You've played scenarios in your mind. You've gone through scenarios with whoever person you're trying to enter a relationship with. But that takes time. It takes time. But you don't have all the time in the world to make the decision. And that's why it's always a difficult point in your life, because you don't have as much time to think about making the right decision. And it makes it seem almost as if it's a leap of faith, that you're taking a huge risk or gamble with your life. If it feels that way, then it is that way. Again, block out all the noise. Someone else would tell you that's not a big decision you're making. Why are you making such a big deal out of it? Because it's my life. And if I don't make the right decision with myself, for myself, it's not going to be good for me going down the line, because I cannot get to a point in my life where I look back at this moment and say, if I had just slowed down and just thought this all through, I would have made a better decision. Because one of the reasons why it's so tough to make these decisions, the unknown. The unknown can be a very, very scary, fearful thing. It can be almost like a nightmare. How you navigate through that is a task even in itself. You have to go down those negative paths. I think that's one element people do not explore enough in their brains and in their hearts. You get to a point in your life and you just automatically, your mind and your heart want to go to all the things that could be great about this situation, or all the things that could be negative. Rarely do they think about both at the same time. In real time, in the moment, either fight or flight is going to kick in, or delusionment and lust is going to kick in. You're not thinking. Both can happen. It's only a matter of time. Because in any decision, there are going to be good things that are going to happen and bad things are going to happen. Then you're going to have your valleys where things kind of stabilize and balance themselves out with or without your help. The important thing to remember is that in that initial moment, if you can recognize that this moment is a crucial moment in your life, has any type of influence on your life at all going forward, or has reached a capstone, a point of like a mountaintop of prior events, you kind of reached this apex. You're like, wait a minute, this is a moment. This is a big, big moment. I have to take this moment seriously. I have to take it seriously for me first. Because then all the dust, after it settles, it's going to come back on me. And again, my name is attached to this decision. You always want the best. Anytime your name is attached to anything, you have to give it your 100% best. You should accept nothing less than your best effort, even in decision making at a crossroads. It can be real easy to be in any type of environment, in a relationship, or having belongings, and you just make these snap decisions and they seem all well and good. But you haven't thought out the negative. And it could be the same thing. You might get to a point and you say, there's nothing good that's coming from this. Seems like it's really hard. This seems very difficult. This is going to be a huge challenge. That doesn't mean you should walk away from it. Maybe that challenge, that rough road, that rough terrain is exactly what you need at that particular point in time. Most people don't have the courage to explore the unknown. They want to know what's known, and not everything that's known is great. That's why we have faith. When people believe in religions and they have faith, that's what it is. You're willing to accept something to be a truth in your life that you will never be able to know ever in your life, and maybe until you're gone, and maybe not even after that. But it's your life. So when these junctions happen, what decision will benefit you the most through the process of going through all of the emotions that you have in your heart? Making sure you're telling yourself all the stories, all the scenarios that work through in your mind. You're physically ready for it. You're spiritually ready for it. And then make the proper decision based on you, where you are in that moment. Based on what came prior and what could be possible going forward. And that will take a tremendous amount of faith in yourself first. How they play out, a lot of it's out of your control anyway. You want to get yourself in the best position to be not just comfortable, but you want to endure challenges. You want to be a better version of yourself. And sometimes that means taking that tough, difficult road. Not everything in life will be easy. And not every crossroad is going to be mapped out for you, A, B, and C, with all this help for you. Decision making in life can be a very difficult thing. We know that. Your mindset around it will define you. And the difference between a strong person and a weak person is that a weak person will often second guess every decision they make. They're not assertive. They're not bold enough to make a decision, stick with it, own it, and accept the consequences of it. A weak person can often turn into a person who will drag down a group because they'll start making excuses. They'll start manipulating others to adjust for the mistakes that they made in their decision. Instead of blaming themselves for the bad decision, they'll start blaming other people. They'll start dragging other people down. They'll start making sure that you feel what they feel. They want you to know either, hey, I didn't make the wrong decision. I'm making the right decision. Let me do all this manipulative stuff to figure it out. Lie, cheat, steal, whatever you got to do to adjust to the fact that you made a bad decision. Or these people are going to say, delusionally, it was the right decision when everyone clearly knows it wasn't. And that's the importance of making a decision, because while you may be making the right decisions, the people around you may not. Life empowerment is not always about empowering yourself. It's about making sure you're not around people who aren't empowered themselves. How can you be in a life of empowerment when people around you are people who are toxic and weak? Weak people can get stronger. Stronger people can get weak. I'd rather be around the people who are stronger, that have the capability of being weak, because they're going to bounce back to being strong again. Once you feel how strong life can be for you, when you can drain every bit of strength out of life through your strength, you're going to want to stay up there. It's really hard to drop back down unless something really, really tragic happens. But trying to get a weak person to become a strong person is a very difficult thing, because this person has to choose in a moment that they want to be strong. There's a moment, a situation, something will happen in these people's lives where they're either going to choose to be weak or they're going to choose to be strong. And that's their decision, but that's the reality of it. And the people who choose to be weak when they need to be strong, that's just going to make it every bit harder for them to climb that mountain, to get to the top. Because every single time you choose to run away from an issue, you choose to manipulate and lie to others, to get out of situations, to fit your story and fit your narrative. Every single time you do something that is damaging your body and your mind and your heart, every time you do something that is manipulative and malevolent to other people, you're going to get to a point somewhere in your life where your crossroads comes, and it doesn't even matter what decision you make. Every path is a bad one. Every path is challenging. Every path is dark and difficult, and there is no light at the end of the tunnel. And you better believe there is definitely no finish line for you, because you're constantly going back. If you went to a crossroads, you walk to that crossroads backwards. You have to turn around to see that, oh my goodness, there's a crossroads, but it's a crossroads that was there for you 20 years ago. You effectively aren't even living in the moment now. You're stuck in the past. You're stuck in a shell of yourself that is going nowhere. You thought you were moving. You thought you were moving. You were in stasis. You were that utopian tree at the top of the hill thinking life was great. The sunshine was pouring down on you. You had caregivers pouring you water. You had all the birds chirping around you. It was beautiful. Until somebody or a group of people come up and chop you down with an axe. Chop you completely up and burn you alive for firewood. How utopian is that? You weren't moving. You were standing still. You thought you were beautiful. You thought you were big and great. Life proved otherwise. A good storm can come and knock you over. All it takes is a bolt of lightning. You need to keep moving. And in a crossroads, one of the worst things you can do is stand there too long trying to make a good decision. Because ultimately, again, there are things, no matter what decision you make, there are outcomes that are happening around you that are going to affect how you move on whatever path you take anyway. That path should be made for you. That's why it's so important that you make that decision for yourself. Because no matter what path you choose, there are going to be obstacles. There are going to be demons. There are going to be nights of cold sweats and nightmares. There are going to be storms. There are going to be toxic people. There are going to be bad work environments. There are going to be bad, you name it. That is the reality of life. It doesn't matter what path you take. What matters is, what are you willing to endure during that journey? Are you going to just say, I'm going to take it easy. I'm going to sit here. I'm going to live paycheck to paycheck. I don't want life to be too difficult. I'm not going to take any risks. I'm just going to kind of stay in my corner and I'm going to be safe. That's fine. That's your decision. You forfeit your right to complain about your life at that point, though. If you're fully capable of taking some of the other routes and maybe getting a better outcome, no one wants to hear your mouth running about how bad your life is. No one wants to hear about you being envious of the people next door who got what you didn't get when you two were at essentially the same crossroads, but you chose the easy path. What do you want out of life? Do you want the easy path? Do you want the hard path? I always choose the harder path. And this is getting back to that self-love. I love myself too much to limit every possibility that life has to offer by picking the shortest road, the easiest path on my journey. Because you're limiting all the purpose in your life that you don't even know you have yet. If you're telling me someone can say, hey, you have 10 years, you can do this, and then you're done. After that 10 years, you're going to be the same for the rest of your life. Depending on what that is, someone says, well, if I had $1 million, I might take that. But I'm thinking, I don't think like that. I'm thinking, well, I could do that, but what if I quadrupled that path? Whatever I did in that little bit of short of a path, once I did it, why don't I just do it again, but double it? Well, why would you do that? It's so comfortable. You already have your money and everything's great. Because I want to make sure that I'm not devaluing my life. What if there's something further down the road that I was called to do? How can I do that if I'm sitting in my comfortable house with my $1 million looking around, everyone saying, I made it. Thank you very much. That cannot be all that I am. That cannot be all that I am. There has to be more out there. How do I know unless I keep moving? When you think about how precious your life is, why put a top on top of it? Why would you put a dome over your existence where you can't get out? You can see straight through it, but you can't get out. You have a giant glass dome over your existence. I don't want a dome over my existence. I don't want to feel as if I'm enclosed in. Self-inflicted enclosure. That's insane. There's a quote by Jacqueline Carey, who is an American writer, that says, stand at the crossroads if you will, but if you not choose, I'll move on without you. Stand at the crossroads if you will, but if you'll not choose, I'll move on without you. And again, at crossroads, who says we meet at crossroads alone? A lot of times we meet the crossroads decisions at that junction with maybe one person or multiple people. Our journeys have led us to the same path at the exact same time, at the exact same crossroads, with the exact same choices ahead of us. Some people will look at the past. They will start saying, okay, I'm going to take this one. I'm going to take that one. I might take this one. I might come back, which the good thing about these paths is that not all of them disappear once you take them. Sometimes you can turn around and say, I walked along this path a little bit. I didn't quite like it. I reserve the right to change my decision. And a lot of times, if it's made through self-love and self-respect and self-discipline, those options will remain open to you. When you make bad decisions, you try to turn around and go back, and sometimes the damage is done. You burn the ground behind you and you didn't even realize it. So that's another reason why the best decision you can make is a good one, because you're not burning any bridges. Sometimes that path will be right there behind you. You can turn around, go back, and maybe make a better decision. Unfortunately, when you arrive at these paths with other people, you can't influence them or manipulate them or project upon them or make them do anything that they want to do based on what you want them to do, and vice versa. So whatever decision these people make, you have a decision to make for them as well, or at least about them. Do you want these people to continue on with you, or do you want them to go on their own separate way? That's happened a lot in my life, where you reach a crossroads and these people may not be that bad of a person. You just know, I'm about to choose a very hard, difficult road based on my self-love for myself. And I already know this person is not going to like that. And as soon as you tell them, they don't like it. Why don't you take C? It's easy. I'm going that way. Bye. You have to say goodbye to these people. You have to jettison them. You have to jettison them. Because no matter how friendly you were with these people, no matter how long you were in a relationship with them, no matter how many memories you've had with them, if you meet a point in the road where you know you need to go on path A and they have to go on path C because it's their choice, you have to say goodbye to these people. Maybe you'll meet up again in the future. Maybe you'll be the one to turn around and go back. Maybe they'll be the one to turn around and go back. But as long as it's based on you loving yourself first, again, you have reserved the right to be able to turn around and go back. But you have also reserved the right to make that decision and keep going forward and never see that person again. That is your right. If they don't understand that, that's their problem, not yours. They have to figure out their own problems. They have a path they're about to walk that they have to figure out their own themselves. They made a decision for themselves. So again, stand at the crossroads if you will. But if you'll not choose, I'll move on without you. Some people have a hard time choosing any path. You have to leave them too. You are not responsible for other people rehabilitating themselves, getting themselves their own help, being aware and woke of what their situation is. You can aid them, you can support them, but you cannot ultimately help these people if they don't want to help themselves. You can't walk up behind them and push them down the path you believe they want to be on. That's not your right to do that. No matter how destructive these people are, how toxic they are, how narcissistic, selfish, ignorant people that they are, they have to make their own decisions, or they won't live with those decisions in the future. If they don't want to get help for themselves, they won't. Now, we're not talking about life-threatening things here. If somebody needs some life-threatening help, of course, that's completely different. You don't walk over someone and say, do you want to go to the hospital? What path do you choose? If someone has to go to the hospital in the emergency room, you take them. We're talking about people who have made decisions in their lives and have reached a point where these decisions have come to fruition, and now they have to do something about it. Now it's time to choose what purpose did all that decision-making prior, what purpose is forming ahead of you? And do you know what that is? And do you know how to get there? Is it the easy, comfortable route? Or is it the hard one? Or do you just want to go straight down the middle and see what gets you? There's nothing wrong with either one of those choices, but it's your choice. It's your choice. And too often we get into a pattern of wanting things out of life that are so easy, that come to us easy. It's comfortable. We don't know how to quite wrap our minds around the fact that life is going to get extremely hard at a certain point, especially if you're not prepared for it. You can't be prepared for anything if you're standing still or you're going down the wrong direction. Life is funny like that. It will test you right when you least expect it. It's like clockwork. It is like the sun rising. It's going to happen. How are you going to deal with that? What decisions are you going to make at your crossroads? Are you comfortable with leaving people behind, even the people that may care about you? They just don't understand you. That's not your job to make people understand you and your decisions. As long as you understand them, eventually people will see that you made the right decision. They'll respect you more for that. If people get impatient with you and they want you to make these harsh, big, life-changing decisions in a short amount of time, then they ultimately don't respect you. They say that they care about you unconditionally. They don't. When you care about somebody unconditionally and you respect them unconditionally, you don't give them time limits. You don't give them ultimatums, or you don't say, I think this is the right path for you. You should take that one. You're not giving these people the room that they need to grow as a person, to explore their self-love, to materialize and manifest their purpose in their mind if they choose to do that, or choose not to. If someone looks completely happy on a park bench, drinking their tea and looking at the sunset every single day when you're walking through there, getting your miles in, if that person is happy, they're not bothering anybody, and they're not toxic, and they're not evil people, they're living out their life in the most beautiful way that they choose to live it, and that's their right to do that. The moment that person starts complaining about their life while they're sitting there sipping that tea and not doing anything, that's their problem. That's the life they chose to live. So until they say to you, why are you running through this park every day past me? You're blocking my view of the sun. Why don't you run somewhere else? They can say to them, hey, maybe you should sit somewhere else. That's how life tends to end up being sometimes, right? You have these little weird disagreements with people whose life are just, we've been in each other's lives, but they're just a little different. Somebody has to head in one direction, the other person has to head in the other one. Especially if someone is disrespecting your wishes and disrespecting your timeline for your life. If it doesn't sync up, it wasn't meant to be. It's as simple as that. You have to look after yourself first. That's what self-empowerment is all about. The people who are going to be in your life will be there. because they will be there for you unconditionally. You don't have to worry about it. So you can be comfortable with making your decisions, because no matter what decision you make, as long as it's through self-love, you're going to get all the other love intangibles around that. You're going to get all the good people in your life. And as we head into intermission, remember, everything and everyone in this world is connected. There is great comfort in knowing that no matter what happens today, the sun will rise again tomorrow. That is by Aaron Lawrenson. He's a former soldier and adventurer. And that's a beautiful quote. I'll read it one more time. There is a great comfort in knowing that no matter what happens today, the sun will rise again tomorrow. It's a very simple quote, and people say it all the time, but when you frame it in context and apply it to what we've been talking about with crossroads and decision making, important decision making based on self-love and self-discipline, self-respect, you can also take comfort, as we said before the break, that when you make a decision, if it's through self-love, all the pieces around you will fall into place. All the love you have for yourself, that love will come towards you in forms of people, places, things. A decision made through self-love, eventually you're going to receive all the love from the world. And it sounds hokey and sappy, but that's what it is. That's what it's all about. That's what I've experienced. When I made decisions out of self-loathing, that's when I received all the pain and misery from the world. I never got any love from the world. I sought it out. I grabbed at it. I wanted it to be a part of my life. I wanted everything in my life to be positive, not knowing that I had shielded and shrouded myself in a bubble of darkness, self-inflicted darkness, and expected to get light from it. How is that even possible? You have to break through that shit and become a new person. Essentially, you do. It's like a devil turning himself into an angel. Do you think that kind of a process would be a quick one? No. You're turning dark into light. The sun doesn't rise in 10 seconds. Maybe on some other worlds around in the universe does, but here on Earth, the sun does not rise in 10 seconds, and nor does it fall in 10 seconds. It's a gradual, slow process. But what's the one important thing about that slow and gradual process? Like self-discipline, it continues on. It's reliable. It's predictable, but it's beautiful. You can watch a sunrise every day for the rest of your life, a sunset every day for the rest of your life, and it's never going to not be beautiful. But it's as routine as any other mundane thing you think is in your life right now. I hear so many people tell me, my life is boring. My life is insignificant. My life is without purpose. My life is without structure, without discipline, without love, without respect. And then I asked them a simple question. Why? Where is your why in life? When you figure that out, when you can wake up one day and just start working on that one word, why do I exist? You're going to answer more of those questions, for better or for worse, in a short amount of time. But in order to make a correct decision at a life-changing crossroads, you have to figure out your why. You have to figure out your purpose. You have to figure out what your strengths are, your weaknesses. And you can't just focus on your strengths. This is another problem with people. Too often, people want to build upon their strengths. It's like a bodybuilder. He'll go into the gym and he'll bench press, squats, gorilla squats, pin lay rows. And when it's time to go out and do a jog around the track, can't even run a quarter mile. You're building too much on your strengths and you're not focusing anywhere on your weaknesses. Focus on your weaknesses. Your strengths are always going to be there. That's the easy part. David Goggins said this in one of his podcasts. He says people get pissed off at him when he's on his Instagram account. And I suggest you go follow David Goggins on Instagram if you haven't. He only posts like once a week. He doesn't flood you with content. But he says people get pissed off at him because he focuses on people coming out of darkness and building on their weaknesses and facing their fears. And his response to these people are, I can't help you with being happy. You already know how to do that shit. Nobody needs help with being happy. We know how to do that. What we need help with is being unhappy. And our weaknesses. If somebody is succeeding at something, of course, that's easy. Why would that be hard? You're obviously good at it, so why would it be hard? But then you see the holes in these people's game. You see the big valleys and gaps, these trenches in these people's lives. And in those trenches are piles and piles and piles of skeletons of weakness. All past failures. His soul been ripped out of his body. You're looking at this guy and it's like, where's your soul? And you look up, how did it get there? His soul just coming right out of his body. People are lifeless. You see lifeless people walking around with no souls. It's almost like they're shells of themselves. They have no skeletal structure to speak of. These people, they often are toxic people. But these are the people who complain about their lives. They don't know what's wrong with them, and they never face their fears. They never face their darkness. They never face their demons. And even if they did, they ran away from them. They let flight take over rather than fight. And that's a sad set of events for any individual to have to think about in their life, is that you ran more than you stood up against the things you were afraid of. How can you make an important decision in life at an important juncture and feel confident you're making the right decision if you ran at every single thing that even came close to that type of a scenario? You have to stand up and be brave and change what is bothering you right now. There is no time to waste when it comes to that. I will tell people that. This isn't a crossroads thing. A crossroads thing is something that, again, has been built up for you to now finally capitalize on all the hard work you've done and make a decision. That relationship that you're in, now you're ready to ask for marriage. That job you worked your ass off in, now you're ready to go in that office and demand a promotion. That toxic person in your life that you just put up with too much shit from, now it's time to jettison them. Those are crossroad decisions. Those are decisions based on things that have been piling up in your life, and now it's time for you to make a critical turn, a critical change in your life that is going to affect you for the rest of your life. Here's another quote. Life's trials will test you and shape you, but don't let them change who you are. That's by Aaron Lawrenson as well. Life's trials will test you and shape you, but don't let them change who you are. How could that possibly happen if you don't know who you are at the time of the decision? And this is where people go wrong in these crossroads. When these moments happen, people are so afraid of what is going to happen in the unknown that they're essentially changing who they are in the moment before they even make the decision, because you're about to run. You're about to make a bad decision because you're afraid. You're afraid that you might take a hard road. You're afraid that it's not labeled right in front of you, A, B, and C, hard, medium, easy. Those aren't there. So you don't know which one is going to be hard, easy, or what's going to happen on these things. So what you do is you're going to stand there in stasis, afraid to make a decision, or you're going to turn around and go back to where you already were because that's more comfortable. It's unknown. But unfortunately, the reason why this decision was so difficult in the first place is because you weren't happy what was behind you. Whatever you came from wasn't what you thought you needed to have in your life, who you thought you should be in your life, what you thought you deserved in life. That's why you found yourself at another one. But too often, you'll get to this point and you'll make the worst decision possible by not making a decision. You'll go back to what's been comfortable. You're afraid of challenging yourself. When people believe if you make too hard of a decision, it will change you. I find it to be completely the opposite. The harder the decision for me, the more stable and grounded I feel. Because I know I'm never going to lose who I am if I'm making a decision based on self-love, no matter how hard it is. I feel comfortable taking the hard road if it's labeled or not. If I look at it and it seems like it's difficult, I'm going to take it. Because there is no bad that's going to come out of a hard road. You're going to learn so much more from that road. When you pass through it, the sense of accomplishment is going to be so much greater. You're going to be so much more attractive to other people, to your co-workers, to your bosses, to everyone, because you're doing things other people just don't have the strength to do. They just don't. If you want to accomplish something in your life, it starts with you making a full commitment to who you are first. You cannot get to these junctures and think that you're going to make a good decision if you are weak. if you are procrastinating, if you're not assertive, if you're not strong, if you're not self-disciplined, if you don't have any self-respect, if you don't have any self-love, if you're surrounded by toxic people, you are preventing yourself from making a correct decision, even if you have all the best intentions to do so, and you truly believe you did make it. You're bringing along a bunch of baggage that will determine your next crossroads. Why bring all that extra luggage? Get rid of it before you get to the next one. And if you have to bring some along and fix it all along the way, that's fine too. Just be aware that there are things that need to be fixed. Face your fears and fix them. Is there something in your life right now? Think long and hard. Is there something in your life right now that deals with just you personally? Only you can fix for yourself. Forget about all the other people because you can't fix them. You forget about the house. It's a material thing. Forget about the job. You don't own it. We're talking about you. What can you fix about yourself that only you can fix about yourself? What is that thing? Are there multiple things? Things that only you can get yourself up and motivate yourself to change in your life. No one can help you with this. They can support you. They can send you words of encouragement. But physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, only you are going to change it because it's your body, it's your mind, it's your heart, it's your soul. What is that thing? Take a moment and think about it. And have once chosen never to seek to return to the crossroads of that decision, for even if one chooses wrongly, the choice cannot be unmade. That is by Jacqueline Carey as well. And having once chosen never to seek to return to the crossroads of that decision, for even if one chooses wrongly, the choice cannot be unmade. And that's what we were talking about with maybe you can go back and change some and maybe get onto another path, but you still made a choice. You still made a choice. But not everything in life is going to be there for you. Even if you go back, things will still be different. So that's why when you meet that crossroads and it's time for you to make that important decision, you are prepared and you are ready and you are strong and you are willing to do whatever it takes to overcome what's going to come at you. Be brave enough to take on the challenges. If you really want something to change in your life and you really want something to be proud of and to want the rewards, and you look at other people and you want to be like them or want something like them, and you're using other people as a template, you got to dig deep. You have to go after it and believe in yourself. So the moment is always now. In the moment, we are who we believe we are. We are who we say we are. But sometimes we contradict even our thoughts and our minds, and we play stories in our mind and try to figure out things in our mind that will hopefully get us over the hump when these bad situations happen, when negative people come into our life, when our strength starts to weaken, when we feel like we have no more hope. You have to understand there is always hope. As long as you're the one creating it. Because again, no one can do these things in your life for you. These life-changing things, these decisions, you're making the decision. The hope you have ahead of you has to be manifested. You have to see it. You have to create it for yourself. Nobody comes around with a box of hope and sits it down in front of you and says, open it up, and then it will lead you along the way. And then once we get to a point where you feel like you need it, just swallow it and all your dreams will come true. It doesn't work like that. You have to create the special moments in your life based on who you are, not what everyone else is doing. That's why they're special. Because one weird decision that happens in life, one bad decision, one strange altercation with someone can change any moment, can change you. Special moments are special because they're inconceivable to even have happened in the first place. A special person is special because you never thought you would meet someone like that. They're not normal. They're not what people consider to be the average person. That's why they're special. You found someone who is going through life believing in themselves. They love themselves. They love others. They have a purpose. They see the light at the end of the tunnel, but they don't care if they see the light at the end of the tunnel, because when they get to that light, they're going to keep walking past it. There's always another adventure. There's always another challenge, another purpose, and they're going to go after what they want 100%. However, these are not impatient people. These are people who understand life, that it takes time, and that things happen, and there are things happening to other people that they can control. So they have to look at themselves first in the mirror and say, let's just start with me and work our way out. When you do that, when you're working your way out, you're kind of putting up a little bit of armor, because even if you say work your way out, if you put your hands on your palms up, it looks like you're pushing people away. But in reality, you can drop your arms at any time and everyone can come towards you. You're not really pushing people away. You're starting with you. You just want to make sure that if these special people are in your life, you're the best person you can be to keep them there. Too often people find special people, special circumstances, special places in their life, and then they get complacent after they get them. They think, well, I got them, now I can just drop the ball and I can just do whatever I want. That's completely the opposite. These special people are coming from a place of self-love. You will be jettisoned. That has to be in the back of your mind anytime you're dealing with anything unique, anything that you want out of life. Now, how do you get that? And how does this apply to the crossroads? The crossroads come because those decisions you make affect things staying in your life as well. It's not always about making a decision so you can get things. Sometimes being at a crossroad is so you can keep things, or to jettison what you don't need anymore, or all of the above. That's why they're hard decisions. That's why crossroads is so important, because it's you. It's a subject matter I've been wanting to talk about for a while, because it's something I don't think people talk about enough. Hard decisions that don't make sense to anybody except you. It makes it very hard to make those decisions because people are going to judge you the moment you start making them. Shut out all that noise. This is your life. You go look in the mirror by yourself and see how many other people show up behind you in that mirror. It's just you, not other people. You can look in 1,000 mirrors, 1,000,000 mirrors by yourself, and nobody else's head is going to pop out of your shoulder and say, I'm here too. It's not like, that's not life. That's not how it works. When you look in a mirror, it's you. You can have somebody stand behind you to support you, but we both know when you look in the eyes of your soul, you're looking into your soul, not that other person's. It's you. You're here by yourself. Now, no matter how many people on this earth with you, again, we're all connected, but we're all free. You are an individual. What type of individual do you want to be? Do you want to be a weak one or a strong one? Do you want to be the type of person that's walking around manipulating people and being selfish and narcissistic and malevolent? Or do you want to be the type of person that has compassion, empathy, focus, drive, self-discipline, self-love, self-respect? The people you surround yourself with will help you with that. You start jettisoning these toxic people, you'll be in a much better place to make a greater decision for your life when you inevitably get to those crossroads. The moment you decide, I'm tired of fleeing, I'm ready to fight, you're going to be ready to stand up tall at those crossroads and make a difficult decision based on what you need. And the people who have been there for you, they're going to benefit from it because you're going to become an even higher valued person. They'll understand, yes, you made mistakes in the past, but you willing to make that type of a hard decision for yourself out of self-love, you can't ignore that type of power that can come from an individual. You can't ignore that type of presence that person has when they walk in the room, because you can tell this person is not perfect but they are out there owning who they are. They're making decisions for themselves. They're not allowing themselves to make excuses, to get into bad habits and bad routines. They're just living their lives, but they are by no means perfect. Nor will they ever be. Nobody will ever be perfect. What we can do is give our best effort at a life that is ours. We can give our best effort at grabbing the purpose that we know is out there. And sometimes it's not going to be land on the ground on the path while you're taking your journey, while you're walking your journey. It's not going to be a little box that says, here's your easy, comfortable path that tells you everything that's going to happen in life. There are no cheat codes. You have to go through this game alone, and it's going to be hard, and you're going to have to accept that. You're going to accept there are people that are going to come into your life, and no matter how good they seem to you, they have the right to leave it. Because you don't own these people. You don't control them. What you can do is become the best, highest value person you possibly can, so you know if and when these people leave your life, that you are going to be okay, first and foremost, because you have self-love. But secondly, you respect the fact that these people have the right to make their decisions on their crossroads, because that's the decision they made in their crossroads. You cannot say, I get to make all the tough decisions on my end and keep whoever I want in my life, but you, sir or ma'am, cannot do that. You must stay in my life no matter what. It doesn't work like that. Everybody's making tough decisions every single day. Because really, when you get right down to it, every single day is a crossroads. You have a moment out of each day that is equivalent to a major crossroads. Again, they build up to that big major one that can be the ultimate apex of crossroads. But you're hitting crossroads every single day of your life. Every day there is something that you could say or do to someone that could change the trajectory of your life in a flash. Negatively or positively. But the decision has to be made for you. And the commitment to that new journey that you made, once you make the decision, you better damn well commit to it. Otherwise, you're going back. Again, you could do that. I wouldn't recommend it. I wouldn't recommend every time you make a decision, you know, in the back of your mind, I might have to double back to correct some things. You want to get to a point where you're so full of self-love that you honestly aren't even thinking about it anymore. You know that you have all the tools you need in your mind, your heart, your body, and your soul to make your decision after you've pondered it. Maybe if that's what you need to do. Some people don't have to do that. They can make a quick decision and move on. I'm finding I need a little bit of a balance with that. I need to know I can do both with accuracy for myself and feel good and confident after I make my decisions. But I only got to this place by figuring out who I was through trials and making sure that every single challenge that I faced wasn't without some type of a learning experience. I had to learn something from every single trial, document it, make sure that it's imprinted in my brain. What did I do wrong? Go back through it. What did I do right? Would I want to go through that experience again? And if I do I want to do it the same way, or would I change anything? This is how you grow as a person. You have to be aware that your existence is worth putting all that effort into. Otherwise, you're going to be a soulless shell of yourself. If you don't value yourself, why the hell would you expect anyone else to? They'll walk right over you. They're trying to walk right over you even when you have self-respect and self-love. How do you expect anyone to respect you if you don't respect yourself? How do you think you're going to make any decision in life if you constantly keep making excuses about who you are and putting it off? All those weaknesses that you need to take care of, jump on them. You don't have time to wait for a crossroads. That's a crossroads that's happening in your day right now today. If you know you shouldn't take another bite of food, then don't. If you know you should apologize to a spouse or a coworker, then do it. If you know you should leave this church and go join that other church you've been wanting to go to, then go do it. If your job is bugging you and you know you need a raise, go talk to them about it or go find another job. Don't get stuck in stasis. Jettison people who are toxic out of your life. Add value to your life. Learn every single day. Develop. Explore your emotions. Find some spiritual core of yourself, regardless if it's through religion or some other type of way. These are cornerstones and foundations of who you are. If any one of those things are missing or damaged, the foundation of your soul is fractured. You're in trouble. You have a crack. You are leaking. There is something wrong with you. And everybody has cracks and leaks at our foundation. You're constantly going to be patching things up. It's no different than a house that's aging. The older you get, the more cracks and stuff you're going to get in your foundation. But the good thing about being a human being is that we can adapt a lot quicker than just being a house that's just planted in one spot. We can move around. We can do some things. We have much more options. And too often people don't explore the options in life. They just remain in stasis. They just stand still and they just refuse. It's almost like they're petrified by the very thought that life is hard and something bad might happen. Yes, life is hard. Something bad might happen. Why stand there thinking about it? Do something about it. You're not happy with something about yourself? Fix it. Get on it immediately. Stop it. Get some self-discipline and change what it is. Don't just keep talking about it. You have to do it. Don't put artificial deadlines on things that you think is important in a goal. If you're ready to do it, do it. And do it big. Don't dream small. Don't be afraid of your nightmares. Face your nightmares. Face your fears. Start reshaping and recreating who you are. You have to do these things because eventually, if you don't, you will get to a crossroads and it's going to be time to make a decision. You will not be mentally, physically, emotionally, or spiritually ready at that time if you do not take the time to through self-love and high value of yourself, start piecing together all the things that are wrong with you and start addressing them one by one and making them focal points and really, really committing to change. Because until you do, you're going to forever make decision after decision after decision out of a flawed individual, which is you. Those good decisions come out of strength and passion and love for yourself. Then there is no wrong decision. And if no one has told you this today, I love you. You deserve to hear that. Salute to you all. The brave never fall.